Hello and welcome to Granada Reports, live with the latest across the Northwest.
Hello, thanks for joining us. On the programme this evening.
Vindicated. The French Senate finds Liverpool fans were unfairly blamed for the crowd chaos before the Champions League final.
Children young as 6 with autism tear-gassed. A blind man separated from his guide. It's caused trauma.
Are they going to be thinking Nanny just left them and not wanting to know them? It's just really upsetting to know that you're not going to see the children grow up.
Making memory boxes in the hope her grandchildren won't forget her. How a grandmother's been left heartbroken by the adoption system.
Where would the charity doing things differently for disabled people in Merseyside?
The weather is set to get just a little bit cooler over the coming days, but that heat really returns at the weekend and into next week. I'll have more on that later in the programme.
And I'm live in Leigh in Greater Manchester, where thousands of football fans from Portugal and the Netherlands have been spending the day ahead of their showdown here tonight in the Women's Euros. More later in the programme.
Well, first this evening, a report at the highest level of government in France says Liverpool fans were not to blame for the chaos surrounding the Champions League final in Paris.
The French Senate looked at that frightening lead-up to fans being pepper-sprayed and concluded what the fans had known all along. There were a number of serious errors by the French authorities, including the police, and also mistakes by UEFA.
Yeah, it highlights poor communication, stadium and crowd management. The supporters group, the Spirit of Shankly, says the report isn't enough and they want a full apology and a retraction of the lies.
Well, tonight, Chris Hall, who was there on the night, joins us live in the studio. But we'll start with his report on those latest developments.
They were pepper-sprayed, tear-gassed, crushed and mugged. But most hurtful of all, they were blamed. Today, after the condemnation, came the exoneration. The French Senate reporting that Liverpool fans were unfairly blamed for the chaos in Paris. Instead, it was down to the French police, government and UEFA.
It was good to get an exoneration by the French Senate. What we need then was the same from the French government. But more importantly, we need a retraction of all those lies that are being peddled. Liverpool fans turned up late, which they didn't. Liverpool fans all arrived with fake tickets, which they didn't. Over 40,000 people arrived at the stadium and then had to make their way back. Absolute lies. You know, they're a matter for public record and they need to be off the public record now.
The report found that police removing signage to the Stade de France caused huge bottlenecks, so they scrapped their slow screening process, which allowed local criminals past the perimeter, where they were allowed to pick the pockets of supporters in full view of French officers. The disproportionate use of tear gas and issuing of paper tickets was also criticised, although there were only 1,600 forgeries in the Liverpool section, not the tens of thousands cited by the French Interior and Sports Ministers. These scenes and the blame game which followed carried haunting echoes of the Hillsborough disaster.
The wheelchair user who had to be crowd surfed over the exit gates because they wouldn't open them to let us out. Children young as 6 with autism tear-gassed. A blind man separated from his guide. Then the police let 2 tear gas bombs off. He just thought it was an explosion.
And you lost your cousin in the Hillsborough disaster. This must have been tremendously triggering for you and other people that had gone through it.
We were in the stadium, fearful of our supporters who were outside, whether they were going to lose their life. And you've got UEFA putting a narrative on the board. This is Liverpool fans arrived late. No, they haven't. They were there 3 hours before kick-off. It's caused trauma. It's took us all back to 1989.
Outdated intelligence of 1980s hooliganism has also been blamed in today's report, which claimed the unprecedented number of local offenders could have been predicted after multiple break-ins and attempted thefts from the stadium leading up to the game, including from the ticket office. The list of errors goes on, and so could the fallout.
I've been writing to President Macron saying now the Senate's reported these findings, there needs to be a full and independent inquiry and also a full apology. The French Interior Minister has behaved shamefully and the Sports Minister, so hopefully they'll get what they deserve, which for me is to both lose the jobs because they don't deserve to hold the posts.
This is a huge embarrassment for France, who stage next year's Rugby World Cup and the 2024 Olympics, while UEFA can expect a rough ride from Liverpool fans when Champions League football returns to Anfield in September.
Well, Chris is here in the studio with us now. Chris, you were there on that night, a difficult night for Liverpool fans, as we've just seen. What did you make of the Senate's report?
Well, those supporters groups that we heard from there actually gave evidence to the French Senate, and it seems like they were listened to, because this report really marries up with what we saw on the night, that indiscriminate use of tear gas by the police, the lack of stewarding or crowd management, the local youths breaking into the stadium from where they actually attacked and mugged supporters in front of police in many cases, while they just focused on anti-terrorism and did nothing about it. Many of the supporters that we spoke to that night actually were at Hillsborough on the day of that disaster, and they said this felt the same, even more so when they were wrongly blamed in the aftermath. Now, the supporters groups we've spoken to today said today is not about the exoneration of Liverpool supporters. This could easily have been Manchester City in the final of the Champions League. It could have been any of our English clubs in Europe being treated this badly. They want this to be a watershed moment for how all of English football fans are perceived.
Yeah, an extraordinary night. Glad to see those fans have been vindicated. OK, Chris, thank you.
Yeah, let's hope they learn some lessons before the other big sporting events coming up there as well, Chris. Thank you. Well, moving on to more news now. Fire crews have been tackling a big fire at a landfill site near Chorley. Dozens of firefighters have been at that site at Buckshaw Village since midnight. Residents there have been advised to keep their doors and windows closed because of the large amount of smoke.
Jurgen Klopp said it was a wow moment when he was told he's to get the freedom of Liverpool. The football manager, who's experienced a fair few wow moments in his career, will get the highest civic honour of his adopted city. Actor Sue Johnson, star of the Brookside and the Royal Family, will also be given the freedom of the city.
Very wealthy background. Yeah, good news for her too. Well, next tonight, how important is a grandparent in a child's life? We want to hear your experiences and your views on this one. We're asking because we're hearing from the grandmother who says that she has been left heartbroken by the adoption system.
Sarah, which is not her real name, had reached out to social services for help when she became concerned about her grandchildren's welfare.
The children are currently in foster care, waiting to be adopted, and because of current adoption law, Sarah has no rights and may never see them again.
She says she is being punished for trying to do the right thing and has been speaking to our correspondent, Rachel Townsend.
It's got little books in, Beatrix Potter books, a dinosaur set because they love dinosaurs.
Memory boxes are all this grandmother can now give her grandchildren. Today is the last day she is allowed to see them. They're currently in foster care, waiting for an adoptive family.
You can't imagine what it's like. It's just really upsetting to know that you're not going to see the children grow up.
Sarah, not her real name, had raised concerns with the local authority that the children's parent was becoming dependent on alcohol. She says at the time she just wanted help.
I feel like I'm being punished now for asking for that help. And I really, really regret doing what I did. And I know I did it out of the goodness of my heart, to look after my grandchildren, to make sure that they were safe. But it shot me in the foot. It's basically stopped me seeing my grandchildren now, until they get to an age that they may come looking for me.
Grandparents currently don't have automatic rights when it comes to their grandchildren being adopted. In theory, an order can be made stating the child can spend time with them, but in practice, this is extremely rare. Currently, the eldest child is split from her siblings. Sarah also has worries about the welfare of the children under foster care.
The hair was straggly and they had bits of food in the hair. They've got bites which have become infected. It's like they've gone into care to be looked after and you're not looking after them properly.
In response, the local council told us, while we cannot comment on individual cases due to confidentiality, we are fully aware of the concerns raised and are confident they have been investigated and addressed. We take any concerns raised about our children extremely seriously, and there are stringent processes in place to ensure they're investigated and addressed quickly and effectively. They add, nationally, there is a shortage of foster carers. Wherever possible, we do try to find placements to keep sibling groups together, but on occasions, there are reasons why this isn't possible.
It's what's going through their little minds. Are they going to be thinking Nanny just left them and not wanting to know them? It's just heartbreaking.
As Sarah prepares to say goodbye to her grandchildren, she says her only hope is that they remember just how much they were loved. Rachel Townsend, ITV News.
Well, joining us live in studio now is Patricia Cannon, who is a family lawyer and an expert on these sorts of things. Patricia, often grandparents are the glue that holds a family together. Now, we can't talk about this case, but is it right to involve social services if you have concerns?
It is right, and it's commendable because the interests of the children should come first. It's right to raise red flags where there are any.
But then are there times when other families miss out and perhaps they're overlooked in this system?
In terms of other families being overlooked, are you...
Other family members?
Other family members. Well, in the system, family members are looked at widely. So the courts would like to see families stay together if that's possible. And part of the duty of the social workers and the court is to look at, are there wider family members who would be able to look after children in a difficult situation?
And Patricia, how much thought goes into this decision-making process? Because I guess what the courts would say is that they do think long, they do think hard about the decision that they make and come into the conclusion.
A lot of thought goes into it. There are social workers involved, so having received a red flag like this, social workers would become involved, and then if proceedings start, there's also a voice for the children in court through a children's guardian.
And can extended family members intervene in the foster and adoption process?
They can raise their interests, they can ask to be assessed. If there is an assessment that they're not happy with, they can ask to intervene. There are opportunities for them.
How common are cases like this? Do you deal with a lot of cases where people are unhappy about situations like this?
Yes. Family members don't want to see their children disappearing from their lives, but there's sometimes very good reasons for that to happen, and the court has to put the welfare of the child first.
And there will be people, grandparents, watching our conversation now, who'll be finding themselves in a similar situation to Sarah. What would your message be to them be?
My message is, you need to put children first. They can't necessarily speak up for themselves. If you're worried, be selfless, act in their best interests and make sure that you seek the support that is needed.
Also, as a follow-up to that report, Blackpool Council say that sometimes it isn't possible to keep siblings together. How common is that?
That is less common, and a lot of things get taken into account, including the individual needs of the children. A lot of services are under pressure. It's difficult to find foster carers that can take big sibling groups, but they will try wherever possible to keep them together.
OK, Patricia Cannon, family lawyer, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us and coming in today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All this has got you at home talking about how vital grandparents can be in a child's life. Jill in Lancaster says, grandparents can give quality time that sometimes a parent or guardian can't due to work.
Yeah, Tony Collier says, my grandchildren are such a massively important part of my life, especially since my terminal cancer diagnosis. We have the most wonderful relationship.
Sue tells us, my son moved to Scotland to give my 3-year-old granddaughter a better way of life. I was totally heartbroken when they moved, but I understood why. We video chat every week and we do see each other. The bond is still very much there.
Yeah, that must be so tough.
Yeah.
And finally to Paul, who says, let me see, a confidant to the grandkids looking after the grand dogs. That's a new one on me. The gardener, the taxi driver, you name it. The important thing is we enjoy it all. That's from Paul, as I say, obviously a very busy man by the sounds of things.
Yeah, love the sound of the grand dogs. OK, lots to come on the programme. Still to come.
Please enjoy our famous peppery Dawson's Music potato pies.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
We're with the Dutch fans getting a real taste of Leigh as football fever hits town.
And plenty of fine weather around today. This was the Liverpool skyline earlier on. Things set to get just a little bit cooler for the rest of this week, but that heat returns out the weekend along with some heat warnings. More on that later in the programme.
Well, next, to the members of the special club which stresses that disability has no limits, Your Voice, Your Choice was set up as an alternative adult day service for people with disabilities and autism on Merseyside.
Well, they're hoping that the beautiful weather at the moment and their latest venture will attract people from the wider community to come and join them. From Halewood, Andy Bonner reports.
The energy in this room is contagious. This uplifting session is one of many activities on offer for the growing number of members here. At Your Voice, Your Choice, they aim to live life to the full. But it's a more serene setting which is creating a buzz at the moment, and this community garden is enabling people to grow too.
It makes them feel happy. They start with the seed, they watch it grow. They absolutely love the responsibility of growing it. It makes them feel valued. They also feel like they've got a real responsibility, which is something that is really important for them.
I really enjoy being in the garden.
Lilac is one of those who tends to the plants. She wants to see local people use the garden as a place to socialise.
People who are more isolated in the community, like the elderly, who may not have loads of relatives or friends, they'll be able to come here for a cup of tea or a barbecue or coffee morning.
Your Voice, Your Choice has been amazing. The staff, the team here, so yeah, it's been great.
I was a bit nervous when I first came there. From there, build me confidence, build it up.
You make friends, and when I came here, they're like, "Oh, why are you shy?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not now, am I now?"
That's good, Sarah.
Through the various activities here, members build confidence enough to volunteer and hopefully even get paid by firms wanting to make the most of their skills.
You're being useful to them. How does that make you feel?
That makes me feel really proud of what I am a part of. Your Voice, Your Choice is helping me with my anxiety and depression. I've got cerebral palsy as well, and it helps my cerebral palsy as well.
So proud to get all these good things going, it gives it a really good place for Your Choice where we do things. We do absolutely wonderful.
And we go out like a group and we do everything for ourselves, and we love coming here.
Members are fully involved in the service, so that's the biggest difference. We give people decision making and choices. It'd be really easy to put on activities or take people out for the day, but the members deserve more.
The service is turning the tables on traditional daycare and enabling its members to grow to new heights of confidence. Andy Bonner, ITV News, Halewood.
Yeah, well done to Your Voice, Your Choice. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Here's what's still to come on the ITV News at 6:30 with Charlie.
Coming up, who's still in and who's out in the Tory leadership contest? The first round of voting took place earlier and we'll have the results. Those who don't get enough MPs backing them will be eliminated. The footage that proves the slow police response to the school massacre in Texas. And a sea monster has arrived at Weston-super-Mare and it's aiming to become a record breaker. Join us for these stories and more from 6:30.
Well, back here, it's another big night for the region in the Women's Euros.
Last week, we were live at Old Trafford for the opening match of the tournament. Tonight, it's time for one of the lesser-known venues to take centre stage.
Tonight, the Netherlands face Portugal in Leigh in Greater Manchester. It's there we join Mike, who is outside the stadium for us. Mike.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. You know, anybody who knows Leigh will tell you that this is a rugby league town. Not today, it isn't. Just come and take a look at this. This town is full of football fans today. They've descended on Leigh for the latest match of the Women's European Championships. There'll be lots of locals here at Leigh Sports Village tonight, but as you can see, predominantly supporters of Portugal and, well, not many from Portugal to be fair. These aren't stewards, these are Netherlands supporters, and they are having the time of their lives. What a day. And in the last hour or so, these fans have all walked en masse from the middle of Leigh Town Centre, where there's been a fan park all afternoon. They've walked together the 1 mile journey from the town centre here to Leigh Sports Village. And you know, this place is so lucky, it's hosting more games than any other venue in the Women's Euros, 4 in all. It's such a massive coup for this town to get those games and to be able to welcome all of these visitors from across Europe to see this town. My colleague Vicky Grimes has spent the day in Leigh.
The Dutch fans are painting the town orange, but tonight it's Leigh's time to shine.
Yay!
And it's a proper tasty welcome for the visitors, keen to sample the local delicacies.
It's very good, very good. I taste chicken, potatoes.
Were you surprised though when you got chicken, because you didn't think it was chicken?
Yeah, I mean, it was an apple pie.
And from pies to pizza.
It's got a layer of Gouda cheese, it's got carrot and swede mash.
I mean, you can't mistake which country this is representing, can you? It's orange as orange can be. I'd never put carrot and swede mash on a pizza, but that is absolutely
really nice.
fantastic.
At the Umbrella Arts Centre, everyone's happy that the Euros have come to town.
It's putting Leigh on the map, quite overshadowed sometimes with the other places around us.
I'm just going to focus on the joy of the day, the sunshine, and everyone to enjoy themselves.
4 of the tournament matches will be played here at Leigh Sports Village, home to Manchester United women's team. And local businesses are hoping the influx of fans will bring a boost to the economy.
Football on Saturday was brilliant, really. I've not seen a street like that for a long time, you know what I mean? So if we can all benefit from that and hopefully get some new customers, that'd be great.
Well, Leigh, of course, is known as a staunch rugby town. Its other most famous export is the late, great Pete Shelley. But never mind the Buzzcocks today, because it's all about the women's football. And could it be that Leigh will fall in love with the sport?
Inspired my daughter, and I've got another one at school, so she wants to come up here after and have a look round. So when we came Saturday, really enjoyed it.
Women's football is just as entertaining as men's football, so I don't know why more people don't go and see it.
Right, you two are both former rugby players, Jason and Colin. What do you think about women's football here in Leigh? Is this going to become Leigh's national sport?
I think women's football anywhere is brilliant.
Not everyone's quite so keen.
I'm 90-year-old. I don't think women should play football.
So you're not going to be watching the matches then?
No, not women.
Victoria Grimes, ITV News.
Back to Lucy in the studio.
Well, as the party continues here in Leigh, I'm joined now by Helen Hardy, who's a women's football expert. She's also the founder of the Manchester Laces Football Club. Helen, as somebody who cares so passionately about women's football, how do you feel when you see scenes like this on your doorstep?
Oh, I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible for England. It's incredible for the northwest of England in particular. The sun's shining. Netherlands have descended on Manchester. What can I say? It's an incredible moment for women's football.
We've just heard what the Women's Euros means to this town, but what does the Women's Euro mean for women's football in the northwest and in this country?
I think the future is bright. You know, the next generation are going to have equal access to playing football. They're going to be able to play in schools, throughout schools, and then up to elite level. So we're going to see a real change over the next 5 to 10 years where accessibility is much easier for little girls, which is only fair, it's only right, and it's super exciting.
And of course, Manchester United women play at this stadium. What is this going to do for their fan base?
I mean, if anything, I hope it just shines a light for the people of the Northwest on the fact that Leigh Sports Village is the home of Manchester United women. This stadium should be packed out in the next season for the domestic league for Manchester United, and we should see a lot more people descending on Leigh every single weekend for women's football.
There will be thousands and thousands of young girls and boys, for that matter, who are watching football perhaps for the first time during the Euros. What advice would you give to a young person that wants to try it?
I think accessing football at the moment is all about going onto the FA website, find your local club, reach out, and then of course clubs like Manchester Laces, the football club that I founded, which are inclusive, safe spaces for adult women and non-binary people. They're also massive because Women didn't have access to football in the same way when we were growing up. So there are spaces which are for beginner adults. Come along, give it a go. Why not? You could be coming to join us in these crowds in the next couple of years.
Well said, Helen. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Well, the party goes on here. Would you believe it's still more than an hour and a half until kick-off? It's going to be quite a night, guys.
Yeah, such a great atmosphere. I'm still wondering where those Portugal fans are, Mike. Now, you know Leigh very well, so you know just how important it is for them to be staging the Euros there.
Yeah, that's right, Lucy. Many, many moons ago, I used to live in this town. I went to college here in Leigh. And, you know, back then this was a really vibrant town. But it is true that in the last 2 or 3 decades, it has taken a turn for the worse, and it's been in a steady decline. But there are people here in this town trying to turn things around. In the last few years in the stadium, Elton John has had a gig, Lionel Richie has had a gig, and don't underestimate the importance of Manchester United basing their women's team here. Make no mistake, women's football is helping to put Leigh on the map, and isn't it great to see?
Yeah, well done to Leigh for making everyone so welcome tonight.
Now, I'm sure you've heard us heading towards an extreme heat wave over the weekend.
Yeah, it does feel like we're in the calm before the sun at the moment, doesn't it? But these are the scenes in the Isle of Man today. Oh, look at that.
Glorious, right? Plenty of people out and about enjoying the beautiful day in Port Erin. But what about the next few days? Here is John with the details.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello again. Well, it turned out to be a smashing day today, didn't it? A bit of a cloudy start over our neck of the woods, like here up at Saddleworth, but then lots of blue sky through this afternoon. And look at that carpet of wildflowers up at Heysham. Isn't that impressive? And it's a big old full moon tonight. Here it is last night over Manchester, and a plane photobombing the photo. So we've got high pressure on the weather chart at the moment. Over the next couple of days, air coming from the Atlantic, bringing quite a lot of cloud and potentially 1 or 2 showers as well. But as that high moves in towards Denmark over the weekend, it's going to start to draw up that really hot air from the continent, from North Africa, especially for the beginning of next week. Temperatures typically up to 31 Celsius. That's a long way off, meteorologically speaking, though. Overnight tonight, we will see an increase in cloud and potentially 1 or 2 showers turning up as well. The overnight low around 11 Celsius. There are your sun times for tomorrow, up at 4:58 in the morning, setting at 9:35 tomorrow evening. So a little bit more in the way of cloud tomorrow compared to today. Cloud which will be deep enough to produce 1 or 2 showers, especially through tomorrow afternoon, especially up towards the Pennines. Plenty of sunshine though at the coast, and a top temperature of 20 Celsius, a fresh 20 Celsius, and a fine evening, I think, to round things off tomorrow evening. Into Friday then, still quite a lot of cloud around, potentially 1 or 2 showers as well, but there will be few and far between. Most places escaping with a dry day. Top temperatures 19 Celsius. Into the weekend, quite a lot of clouds Saturday, but some sunshine coming through. Some sunshine on Sunday as well, but notice how those temperatures creep up, and some heat warnings in force from Sunday onwards.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
Now, despite slightly cooler and cloudy weather over the next couple of days, the pollen count is still going to be very high, I'm afraid. Maybe moderate to high at the coast. That's it. That's your forecast. Enjoy your evening.
Thanks, John. Well, in the sunshine, these are the colourful scenes in Leigh tonight for the Euros. Thousands of fans outside Leigh Sports Village for tonight's game. Have a great night. Good night.